Let's get into it. Well, what a weekend. A lot of interesting games, some surprising finishes, and one of the big games that not only big for the teams, but also some individuals. And that, of course, was the San Francisco 49ers quarterbacked by Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, versus the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterbacked by the number 1 pick in the draft, Trevor Lawrence. And a lot of people, thought this would be a close game. They thought maybe Jacksonville would win. I thought San Francisco would win. You picked Jacksonville. I don't know if you picked them. Did you pick them to win? I know you picked them with the points.
I picked them with the points.
Were 3-point underdogs.
I thought it would be a closer game. No way did I see or envision what I watched.
It was a straight up route.
It was a route almost from the word go.
34-3. Yes, and Brock Purdy, who had been under fire for having his first 3 really bad games of his career, which is still only 13, 14 starts long. But he had a rough 3 games, and people thought he had turned into a pumpkin, to use Rob Parker's phrase. And he came out and was terrific. And he threw for 296 yards, completed well over 70% of his passes, and threw for 3 touchdowns and 0 turnovers, which had been his bugaboo the last 3 games. 5 interceptions over those 3 games. So, Rob, did Brock Purdy convince you that he's back or that he's good or what?
No, I haven't been. My opinion of him still hasn't changed. It was an important game for him, Chris, even more so than the 49ers, because I think that another game at where he was, he already had people who are starting to question how much, and it's not just the look-see test. We've talked about this before. Pro Football Focus and people who study. Who do we have on Friday who even said that people in the NFL said he left a lot of stuff on the field? Mike Jones Chris.
Mike Jones? Yeah.
From The Athletic. So it ain't just like a couple fans because he has an interception. There's people in the league who have watched him, studied him, and say he's good, but I don't know, there's a lot of other stuff that maybe he could be better at, or he's not that athletic, all the stuff that they talk about. So I think it was very important, and I give the guy credit under those circumstances to come out and play as well as he did. You remember, Jacksonville was 6-2, going into that game, Chris, and now the 49ers and Jacksonville are both 6-3. But that was a game like a little litmus test because Jacksonville had run off 4 or 5 in a row.
They had won 5 straight.
5 in a row.
I thought he definitely was impressive, as you said. I think he's a good quarterback. Not ready to say he's an all-pro level quarterback, but he's a good quarterback. And I thought people were overreacting to some struggles. I mean, to run off the first 10 starts of his career with 10 victories, to win a playoff game. In fact, not only his first playoff game, but to throw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in that playoff game. And then to beat Dallas in his second playoff game. Now, he wasn't phenomenal in that game, but he was better than Dak Prescott. I thought he had shown that he's good. We'll see if he ever becomes, I don't know if he'll ever become what you would call an elite quarterback, but I think he's good. And I think quarterbacks have bad games. And we've seen it. Joe Burrow had a rough game this Sunday. We've seen all of the top quarterbacks in the league have tough games. And so I also thought, Rob, his first game it was his first loss that people say it was bad against Cleveland. You're facing the top defense in the league. He wasn't very good in that game, but he did at the end put his team in position to win the comeback, in comeback fashion, and they missed the field goal, 40 yards. Second game, he played well against Minnesota and then got concussed and threw 2 turnovers or 2 interceptions after the concussion. And then he was bad against Cincinnati. That was a bad game. And but like I said, I just looked at it like people have bad games, and he was going to have a bad game, and he'll have more. But I thought, Rob, for him to come out, they were off the bye, but so was Jacksonville, so that kind of, nullifies the advantage a team usually has off the bye. But with everybody watching him, everybody having doubts, everybody thinking, okay, yep, we thought so. He was fugazi. He came out and played a great game. Not only a great game, Rob, but against a defense that they give up a ton of yards passing, but they also are a great team in terms of takeaways. They're tied for the top in takeaways per game, or they were entering that game, and they were tied for first in interceptions. And so this, I thought, and I said it Friday, was a great test for him, Rob, because if anybody was going to pick some balls off, it would have been Jacksonville.
Right.
And he was clean. Now, his first touchdown was definitely a risky decision. He admitted it. Kyle Shanahan said it was a bad decision, but it worked.
But it worked out.
Yep.
And no one's going to kill you for it.
Yeah,
right.
Everybody makes bad decisions. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But overall, Rob, I thought he played well. And the thing even more than Purdy, Rob, I kept my belief that San Francisco was an elite team. Even when they lost those 3 games straight, I still felt like, you know what? In the NFC, it's still Philadelphia and San Francisco. And I thought they in Kansas City, Baltimore, Cincinnati, like those, that to me is the top tier of teams.
Even for a team that's lost 3 in a row, like good teams normally don't lose 3 in a row. Would you agree with that?
I did. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look.
Well, I mean, most years, if you're 10 or 11 wins and you only lose 5 or 6 games, you normally don't lose 3 in a row.
I guess. I mean, but it didn't faze me because I just, again, I know that what the NFL is and great team. I mean, heck, Kansas City lost to Denver, and you're going to lose some games. Now, you're right, Kansas City or Mahomes at least doesn't usually lose back-to-back games, but I just felt like this team, seeing their defense, seeing their receivers, their running game, and a more than adequate quarterback, I just feel like they're a really good team. And also, Rob, you baked in the injuries. You knew, okay, Debo's coming back. That had to hurt. Trent Williams is coming back. Purdy wasn't the only one to struggle without Trent Williams. Their run game was really poor without Trent Williams, who's an all-pro left tackle.
He's a big part of that.
Now, had they been healthy, Rob, maybe I would have felt differently. You know what I mean? Had they been healthy and lost all 3 of those games, I'm not sure, but that might have affected me too.
Yeah, I think that's fair too, but also you look at how quarterbacks play when they don't have everything or everything's not working, and that doesn't mean, Chris, you can't be a good quarterback, but it's whether or not you could be an elite or like that guy, Joe Burrow. I don't care who's playing. I think he got, a chance to win. I don't care who's playing for Kansas City. You know what I mean? Like there's certain guys, Chris, that you just feel like it doesn't matter. I agree. And that's I don't even know if at this point, if that's a question. No, that's not a question anymore. But I think
with Purdy, like, is he, I don't think anybody's thinking there's probably some, but Rex Ryan said he was Joe Montana, so I guess he thought he was
still.
But you know what I mean? Well, no, but that was before the
before the rains came, right?
Yeah,
like that's why you got to be so careful with those kind of analogies.
I don't think he's elite. They think he might get there one day, but I think most people just feel like he's a good quarterback, and we'll see if he becomes.
And I'll say this real last thing. It is hard, you talk about the road to the elite. We talked about this before, Chris. And you and a few other people, you're not the only one. Dak Prescott's early play looked like he was en route, like he played great, right? And
I thought he was going to become elite.
No, that's what I'm saying. And so that can happen when you get off to a good start, you play, and it doesn't mean that it comes to fruition, that it goes all the way. And that's all I'm saying with Brock Purdy. He might wind up plateauing and being just a really good quarterback, Chris. That's maybe where he might wind up being, which isn't a bad thing at all.
Right. I mean, for him, it's going to come down to winning. And we talked about it, Rob. Super Bowls.
Right.
or Super Bowl.
If they don't win or get to the Super Bowl, they went to the Super Bowl without him. If they don't get there, Brock Purdy, people are not going to be fond of Brock Purdy.
Right.
I don't care what anybody
that's because
says.
they are. I mean, they are a team, and there's others obviously, but it's Super Bowl or bust. Period. And it might not be this year, it might be next year, but the charge for him is to win a Super Bowl because, like you said, they've been close before, and they've got everything else around him. That's at least Super Bowl caliber. And so, he's got to get it done. All right.